San Francisco is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Love San Francisco. It's a place that I would love to, I told my wife after we visited San Francisco that San Francisco, if we won the billionaire lotto, the place I would want to live is San Francisco. I was just blown away how beautiful it is. Just unbelievable city. With the parks and the ocean out, just unbelievable. And so much, the food, the restaurants, it's one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been to, especially like urban cities. And I'm not going back anytime soon. And when I was there, the homeless problem was fairly bad. And now it's gotten to the point where it's just downright dangerous. The police have literally said, we can't protect you. Just a heads up. Just a heads up. Yeah, I know the politicians said they want you disarmed, but just so you know, we might not be able to protect you. Just keep that in mind before you go out. Literally say that. The insurance rates are through the roof. You see videos where people are walking down the street and the back window of the cars have a little hole in them, or the whole window's gone. They've got this little device. It's almost like a plastic thumb. You put it on the back of the window and just push, and then it just shatters or creates a hole or whatever, and then they can go in. They got devices where they can tell if there's like a phone in there, a device. How many times you left the car and left the phone in there or something like that, and you don't really think your car is going to get broken into. Hopefully you don't live in that type of area. But that's what San Francisco's become. Democrat ruled, Democrat run. Yeah. So the Atlantic has to acknowledge it, and they said how San Francisco became a failed city. Even the Atlantic has to announce this and acknowledge this. San Francisco was conquered by the United States in 1846, and 2 years later, the Americans discovered gold. That's what you think about, too, the gold rush when you go out there. And San Francisco is like a hub out there. So you could go out there, you can swim, you can surf, you can do a lot. You got Silicon Valley out there. And this article talks about how, with the history of San Francisco, it says so much has been written about the beauty and mythology of this city that it may be superfluous to add even a little more to the ledger. You see the Golden Gate Bridge. Now it's a tale of two cities because there's always rich areas and poor areas, but there will always be that. I was arguing with somebody, not arguing, we're just going back and forth on universal basic income. And I said, it's universal basic income. For me, the design is to make a floor for the bottom. So if you're at the bottom of the economic ladder, if it's $1,000 a month the government gives you, you get rid of all the other social safety nets. You don't do it on top of welfare and everything else. So I'm not adding more money to circulation. It's about $12,000 a year. That's not going to make you live high on the hog. So there's going to be poor areas and rich areas. But they have to acknowledge, and even the Atlantic has to acknowledge, when you go down and we find out that Chesa Boudin has been ousted, he's gone. What they said is, Chesa, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. Progressive said that. When you're too progressive for progressives, that means you're a wackadoo. That means you should be in a mental facility. They tried to blame it on the right wing did this and the conservatives did this. And what, San Francisco? What do you think, that's a MAGA hub? That's not even a hub for establishment Republicans, much less MAGA. No, it was your failed communication. It was your failed policies. It was your failed handling. It was you endangering the citizens. They were scared to go outside. Common citizens had to start taking stuff on their cell phones and posting it on Twitter of zombies walking in the street because they're high as a kite. Human feces all over the damn place. People exposing themselves. It literally became Sodom and Gomorrah. That's why they told you to get the hell out of office and don't come back. I know he can come back in 6 months, but they sent the message. Don't blame me. They sent the message to you, and I've been very hesitant to say his name, but damn it, is what it is. Soros, they said, we don't like what you've been funding indirectly. Get out. Don't even bother running again. We don't want you here. That's what they said. So what do you think about the Democrat platform if in San Francisco they said we don't want it? What do you think's going to happen? That's why I'm so, and maybe, and I could be a wackadoo because I've been saying I don't think there's going to be a midterm or not a traditional midterm election. I don't know what that looks like. I don't even want to speculate. The reason why is because the Republicans, there's going to be a red wave, and MAGA has, regardless of Trump or not or whoever, MAGA still has heavy influence. So with MAGA having influence and Republicans at least dominating the House, which probably is what's going to happen, every Democrat is probably going to be scared off their mind in D.C. because the House can do a lot of stuff. Now, I don't want them to play games like the Democrat did, but I can't stop them. Sorry. So there will be hearings, trust me. And I don't think all the hearings are going to be games played. We'll see. I don't want to I'm getting way ahead of myself. But this kind of confirms this is where the country is going. On the local level, it's hard to get 2,000 donkeys to influence things without people knowing in a local election. So that's another reason why local elections are big. And it does help me restore trust to see that they present themselves as progressives and that they're establishment. They're just the new look of the corporate Democrat Party. That's what they really are. So even the Atlantic has to say, damn. Yesterday, San Francisco voters decided to turn their district attorney, Chesa Boudin, out of office. They chased Chesa out. They did it because he didn't seem to care that he was making the citizens of our city miserable in the service of an ideology that made sense everywhere but in reality. It's not just about Boudin, though. There is a sense that on everything from housing to schools, San Francisco has lost the plot, that progressive leaders here have been LARPing left-wing values instead of working to create a livable city, and many San Franciscans have had enough. That is a paragraph for you. Those are bars. You could just drop a beat to that. One more time. Bear with me. I just want to hear that one more time. That was it. It is what it is. I'm just reading. Chesa Boudin out of office. Because yesterday, San Francisco voters decided to turn their district attorney, Chesa Boudin, out of office. They did it because he didn't seem to care that he was making the citizens of our city miserable in service of an ideology. Ooh, what's that ideology that he's servicing that made sense everywhere but in reality? It makes sense in your head, but in reality, it literally gets people killed. And it ties into the Oak Park River Forest High School stuff. Because in what they want to do in their head makes good sense, but in reality, it doesn't make sense. And it fits in also because you could say, hey, Chesa, you're doing stuff based on race. And he would probably say, no, I'm not. And I would say, yes, you are. And it's the same thing with the OPRF schools in Illinois. It's not just about Boudin, though. There's a sense that on everything from housing to schools, San Francisco has lost the plot, that progressive leaders here have been LARPing. Woo! I like this. Who wrote this? Who wrote this piece here? I'm going to see this. This is from Nellie Bowles. Don't know who that is. So the LARPing, if you don't know what LARPing is, I believe it's live action role playing. So basically, you feel like you're playing a virtual video game, but you're in real life type of thing. Like you're living a fake reality is what I get from that. So LARPing left-wing values instead of working to create a livable city, just acting like a human being. And many San Franciscans have had enough. Yeah, we saw this coming with the school board ousting that was last year. I believe it was late last year. Things are not going well if the Democrat candidate in San Francisco is getting recalled. That basically fired is what the people have fired him. I bet they're real salt that they put those recall rules in San Francisco a while back. Came to backfire. I like the recall rules. I really like that. You don't like what's going on? You're fired. On a cold, sunny day not too long ago, I went to see the city's new Tenderloin Center for Drug Addicts on Market Street. It's downtown, an open-air chain link enclosure in what used to be a public plaza. On the sidewalks all around it, people are lying on the ground, twitching. And I know this because I have a list on Twitter of people who are in San Francisco who love the city, and I've talked to them and I'm like, damn, do you need to get out of there? And they tell me, no, I love this city. I'm going to fight for this city politically. And I say, much respect. And they're using Twitter, social media as means to fight the battle. You see some of these things out there, and there's so many times I'm asking, this isn't real, right? This can't be real, right? They showed a video, I think it was a video or a picture of this thing in San Francisco that they're talking about in this article, and it was so crowded. It looked like it was like a farmer's market. And they're like, no, it's not a farmer's market. I was like, wait, what do you mean it's not a farmer's market? It looks like an art museum or art show or something like that. No. It was this open thing with all these tents. It looked like it was built for like a fair, but that's not what it was. So there's pictures of these online if you want to see them. There's a free mobile shower, laundry and bathroom station emblazoned with the words "Dignity on Wheels." You can't make this stuff up. San Francisco is an example of a place where I think people have goodwill intent, and they take that and they express it in in supporting this ideology and this type of thing, and it actually hurts people. A young man is lying next to it, stoned, his shirt riding up, his face puffy and sunburned. Inside the enclosure, services are doled out: food, medical care, clean stuff, referrals to housing. It's basically a safe space to do these drugs. Now, I am for the legalization of drugs. I am not for setting up a place like this, which is not helpful. The city government says it's trying to help, but from the outside, what it looks like is young people being eased into unliving on the sidewalk, surrounded by half-eaten boxed lunches. This is the city version of enabling. I use this example with America and Ukraine. We are enabling Ukraine. If Ukraine wants to stand up on their own, they should stand up on their own. We are enabling, funneling money, and that allows someone to do things they shouldn't do. I use the analogy when we saw Zelensky, we saw him posing for pictures and stuff, and I said, you're enabling him so he can do these things. Just like if I were to enable somebody who needs to get a job and I go over to their crib and they've got a PlayStation 5, they got an Xbox, they've got a new iPad, and I'm like, do you have a job? They're like, no, I'm waiting for that next re-up. They are doing that on a city level. I'm talking about the damage you could do with just one person. They're doing that with people throughout the whole city. And you know that their thought behind it is this word equity. A couple years ago, that section that they're talking about was full of tourists and office workers who coexisted somehow, even with the large and ever-present community of the homeless. Like I said, when I last time I've been to San Francisco was like, I think it was about 6 years. And yeah, it was just a weird thing where it was like, yeah, it's really weird for me. I'm not from an area like that. You see, from Cleveland, Ohio, I've seen homeless, but not like San Francisco. Now the weather's better, so you're going to have more people out there. But it's something to behold. San Diego as well. I really like San Diego, but honestly, when I think San Diego, this was 6 years ago. When I think San Diego, the first thing I think was the shanty towns that were set up. Imagine what it's like now. But somehow it coexisted even at the beach and stuff. And I didn't really feel threatened at the time. But it's just gotten worse. So it's time to try something else. That shouldn't be a big scandal. What you're doing is not working. What you're saying doesn't make sense. So we're going to try someone else. What do you think this was? Black identitarians that were just going to vote for the same person for over and over and over and over and over? No. Everybody is not mentally attached to you like that. Now they're going to be replaced with a Democrat, but they are showing independence. They are fighting back against an establishment pick. Now the homeless are the only ones left. This is a great article. I'm just trying to skip through because I don't want to read the whole article, but it is a great article. I'll put it in the chat because sometimes I forget after the show, like to put my links in there. It's an extra work. Oh, thanks Bishop for blocking. Was there a bot account? I wasn't able to see the chat. Thanks for joining. So I'm just talking about why this matters. Why is it important? Why should we look at this as a good sign? I think it is. It's people speaking out. It's the will of the people. So we know that stores have left. Now you have a ghost downtown, especially after the pandemic. A lot of people working virtually. Elon Musk is trying to get them back in the office. But downtown encampments. But walking these streets awakens me to how bad San Francisco has gotten even before the pandemic hit. To how much suffering and squalor I'd come to think was normal. Stepping over people's bodies, blurring my eyes to not see see this drug paraphernalia on the ground and having a jab in between toes. It coarsened me. I'd gotten used to the idea that some people just want to live like that. I was even a little defensive of it. Hey, it's America. It's your choice. So this is the background of it. And I don't know, do people know about the Atlantic? Because it seems like they've been establishment left, but I have seen multiple pieces where it's like this, where this is realistic. I mean, I like this. This is old school. This is like the news, opinion pieces I used to grow up with, the op-eds like this. That would just tell you how they felt. Even if you disagreed, it didn't feel like, and I'm going to do an op-ed that called the race-based grading fake, and that the whole op-ed is fake. That's what we see now. This is old school. It's like, I'm going to give you my content. It's not, this is old school where it's like, I'm not saying, oh, fake news. No, I'm just giving you my story, my opinion. Agree or disagree. It's not, most of these op-eds now are like aiming at someone to call someone else fake, but really all you have to do is say what your opinion is. I don't need to call you fake. I'll say, here's my opinion. Then we get to the crime, and that's where it really starts to fall apart. A lot of people leave notes on the glass. So there's so much of this stuff happening that people leave notes on their car that say, please, like, there's nothing in the car. Don't even smash the window. Damn. My goodness. And these people, the DAs, I'll save that for a little bit later, but these DAs are ambitious. So don't think that DA of San Francisco, DA of Milwaukee, DA of Philadelphia, DAs of all these different areas, don't think that they're just thinking about being a DA locally. They've got high aspirations. It says, once when I was walking and the guy tore my jacket off my back and sprinted away with... This is not funny, but what am I supposed to do? It's so bad that they're living in an area where people just take jackets off their backs and run away with it. And it's like, and they said, I didn't even shout for help. I was like, we're in San Francisco. I was embarrassed. What was I, a tourist? Yeah, so like, I'm not a tourist. I know this is San Francisco. Living in a failing city does weird things to you. The normal thing to do then was to yell, to try and get help, even, dare I say it, from a police officer. But this felt somehow lame and maybe racist. My goodness. A couple of years ago, one of my friends saw a man staggering down the street, recognized him as someone who regularly slept outside the neighborhood, called 911. He wasn't doing well. Paramedics and police arrived and began treating him. But members of a homeless advocacy group noticed and intervened. They told the man that he didn't have to get into the ambulance, that he had the right to refuse treatment. So that's what he did. They left, and the man passed away later, a few months later. It's wokeness that's gone so far that it is at the point of a mental condition. And it's not like, that's not a joke. That's where we're at.